Hello, and welcome to In the Garden with Flower Hill Farm, a podcast brought to you by Botanical Interests. I'm your host, Nicole Pitt. In today's episode, I'm joined by a flower farmer who can only be described as a powerhouse, my friend Galena from the Micro Flower Farm. She started growing on a micro patch and is now in the process of filling out a new property with amazing blooms. Galena just joined me on a flower adventure in Europe, and we're going to chat a little bit about our trip and how she's fallen in love with all things dahlias coming up. Today, I am drawing inspiration from that recent trip to France and Holland, where so many of the flowers that I grow on my farm originated. It was incredible to meet the breeders and learn the process of developing new varieties and how flowers aren't just for fun in Holland. Although there was plenty of fun, flowers are a way of life. And that's how I feel too. Life without flowers would be dull. Not enough is said about the mental health benefits of gardening and a flower-filled life. And I can sense it in my community as well. The temperatures here, they're creeping up, the sun is starting to shine, and while my garden shop here is not open for the season just yet, people are peeking in the windows, knocking on the door just to get a glimpse of the season ahead. It's always an exciting time in the spring. In fact, yesterday, I had a customer stop by looking for some pansies. They wanted to brighten up the ball field for opening day next week. And because pansies can tolerate the cold temperatures, they're perfect for some early color. And that brings me to our seed of the day. It's pansies and their cute cousins, violas. These bursts of happiness thrive in cool weather. They actually prefer it. They can survive frost and bounce back even after a light snow. In many climates, they'll bloom from early spring through fall, sometimes all winter long. They are loved by bees and early pollinators when not much else is blooming. They come in almost every color, from deep purple, soft pastels, bright yellows, nearly black, and multicolors as well. Pansy flowers are edible and often used to decorate cakes, salads, and cocktails. Fun fact, pansies are mentioned in William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, where they're linked to love potions. Botanical Interests offers a variety of pansies and viola seeds, from Swiss giant blends to Johnny jump-ups. They're beautiful and delicious. Coming up, we sit down with Galena from the Micro Flower Farm. She grows pansies and incorporates them into her bouquets. We will find out her favorite varieties coming up. Welcome back to In the Garden with Flower Hill Farm. Today's guest is someone who proves that you don't need acres and acres of land to grow something truly impactful. You just need intention, creativity, and drive to put in the hard work. I'm so excited to welcome Galena from the Micro Flower Farm, a grower who has embraced the beauty and efficiency of farming on a small scale. Galena specializes in maximizing space and inspiring everyone with her beautiful blooms that has more than 1 million people excited over on Instagram. Galena, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So fill the audience in on where you are growing and what your climate is like.
Okay, so I grow in Southwest Washington, very close to Vancouver, Washington, not Canada. And we moved to 6 acres 2 years ago, so that's where we live now. Before that, we were on half an acre in a pretty urban setting, and that's where I started my farm, hence the name. Currently, I do about 1 acre of production, which is kind of my goal to keep it at that. We have a pretty, what most people would consider a temperate climate. Our winter temperatures range typically between 30 and 45 degrees for about 4 or 5 months. Occasionally we'll dip a little lower. Our summers hover around 80 degrees typically during the day. Very low humidity. A lot of winter and fall rains, not a lot of snow. Kind of don't have tornadoes, hurricanes. We do have wildfires, so.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, and the potential of a really horrible earthquake, but
ooh. That's. So you are zone what then?
I'm technically zone 8B, but where I live specifically, there are like about 1,000 microclimates. So it
Yeah.
kind of actually depends a little bit on where you are in the county. My current place dips a little bit colder, in my opinion, than a zone 8B.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really nervous because I planted a zone 5 tree and I don't think it survived my winter. Like, I'm really nervous about it. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's still early where I live. The tulips and the daffodils are just starting to creep up out of the ground. So I don't know. I know you're harvesting right now. What are you harvesting?
Our tulips are finishing up, actually. Our daffodils are finishing up. Ranunculus and anemones are just getting going. Peonies will be here in probably, I'm looking at them right now at the window, like 3 weeks will probably be our peonies.
Oh my gosh.
And then roses will start around the same time. Pansies are already blooming. Delphinium and snapdragons will start blooming in about a month-ish. Like all my fall planted ones. Sweet peas will be blooming in about a month.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
yeah.
The season is starting.
And then we'll be planting our dahlia field starting in a couple weeks.
Oh wow, that's a huge project. So how did you start with flowers? How did Micro Flower Farm come to be?
It's a combination of things, but the seed of it started when we did this family trip to England. My husband worked remote, which we didn't own a house, and we were like, hey, we could make this work. That was back when you could still find like deals on Airbnb.
Yeah.
A little harder. So we took our 3 kids, couple siblings. We kind of were like, do you want a cheap trip in exchange for helping us with our toddlers? And they were like, yep. And we went to England for 3 months. And that was like the first time I really was introduced to small scale gardening, because most people in that country do not have large amounts of land. They have community allotments. You have like your massive castles, obviously, those have land, but most people have very small gardens, and they really pack them full, typically, of flowers. So that was the first like instance where I really fell in love with flowers, period. Then we came home. We found our first home, which we bought. I had another baby, and coming out of postpartum and postpartum depression, I just suddenly had like this desire to grow flowers. And so I got pink grow lights, which I didn't know they were pink when I ordered them, but they were pink. They ended up in my kitchen, and started a ton of seeds way too early, babied them, planted them. It took me like 1 month after they started blooming to just be like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I just fell straight down the rabbit hole.
And what were those seeds? What were those first flowers that you were planting?
The first cut flower that bloomed for me, and it's still like one of my first, like in my top 3 favorite flowers, was ranunculus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not a beginner. Like, I mean, it's not the most difficult flower to grow, but it requires a certain climate, and you have a perfect climate for it. For us, it's not ideal unless you have a high tunnel. But wow, ranunculus right away. Good for you.
Yeah, I know. I have no chill. So when I decide to do something, I go headlong in. I probably had like 50 varieties of flowers. That year I'd never grown a dahlia. I planted 150 dahlias.
Yeah.
And let's see, the other ones I did was I did carnations, I did cosmos, I did zinnias, I did bells of Ireland, I did pansies, the dahlias, amaranth. I did basically everything.
Everything.
The whole kitchen. Yeah.
So ironically, today's episode is about pansies in the beginning of this podcast. And you have been growing some amazing pansies that you are getting long enough stems to incorporate in bouquets. Can you talk about some of your favorite varieties and maybe some tricks to getting a longer stem length?
Yep. So you really want to, well, anything that you buy at like like a nursery, like a retail nursery, is probably not going to give you the stem length. They are really optimizing for border plants, something that's short and small that you can fit into a border. So I like to get seeds from Johnny's, the Nature Antique, the Frizzle Sizzle, brush strokes. There's different ones. You just want to go into the growing information and be like, hey, if it says 12 inches on stem length or 12 to 14, if it's saying 3 to 4, don't buy those ones. But the trick really with pansies, two things that one is applies to a lot of flowers that people seem to forget is pansies really do like cold.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of people wait way too long on certain flowers to plant them out. Like snapdragons are another one. If you're planting them out in June or July, you're not going to get long stems. They need and same with ranunculus, actually. They need a certain level of cold in order to get the full height that you want. But then the other trick is literally plant them on top of each other, like 2 inches apart. Do not do this 5-inch spacing because you want them to be forced to grow upward and not like, oh, we have plenty of room, so we're just going to kind of spread out a little bit.
I like that trick because that means you can plant more.
Exactly.
Yes. The more the better, I always say. I have a couple of different varieties in my hoop house right now. The first round, the chipmunk devoured, but they're so resilient that they do grow back. So they're still alive, but they're really delayed. And then the second one, I think it's the Rococo.
Oh, yeah.
Rococo. Yeah, those are looking really well. I just planted those out about 2 weeks ago. Right after we got back from Europe, I planted those. Wait, was it before? I don't remember. It was either right before we left or right after I got back. I got those. I only did 40 of them, though. I wish I did more now because I would really like to incorporate those in spring bouquets. They have this flirtiness that really adds something special to a bouquet.
They do. Last year I planted over 1,000. This year it's probably half that.
Yeah. Now, are you growing them in the tunnel or are you just putting them outside?
I've done both. I did them in the tunnel last year just because I had the space in the tunnel and I didn't have the field prep. If planting outside, some people are like, say they don't get as long of stems, but the trick there is just plant them under a shrub. Great companion plant for roses because giving them some partial shade also forces them to reach for the light and grow taller. And your first blooms are always going to be short. You just pinch them off. You just wait.
I have a couple blooming at about 3 inches tall, right, from the chipmunk damaged ones. So I'm just glad to see color in there, to be honest with you, after the chipmunks devoured them. Oh.
Right.
So you mentioned that you're not on the farm that you started on, that a couple of years ago you guys moved to a slightly larger property. What was that transition like? What was the most difficult part about moving farms?
Oh boy. All of it. That whole year honestly was really stressful. Just the process of finding the property. We had to sell our house at the same time. We had a very limited window to work with because I couldn't skip a year of planting.
Yeah.
So I needed to be on the new property by a certain amount of time. So we had a cutoff point of if things are not settled by this date, we have to just simply pull the plug and pass on. Because of everything.
Yeah.
Moving all of the plants was rough. I definitely lost a lot of roses specifically, which was partially my own fault. If anybody is planning on moving a farm and you have perennials like that, my advice to you is dig them up when they're still dormant and repot them. I did not do that. And if I had, I wouldn't have lost them because as it was. They were being dug up after they had already leafed out in May.
Yeah.
That stressed them. We moved. In the process of moving, things didn't get watered. They died.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, that happens. But like the other part was just us thinking we would save time. Our new property is so close to our old one that we were like, oh, you know what? We don't need moving help. We'll just load up our van and just like go over every evening. And that dragged the process out by like 3 weeks. And looking back, I'm like, I don't know why we didn't just hire moving help. Anyway. But
it's hard. It's hard to figure these things out.
I don't intend to move another farm.
So the property is, you said 6 acres?
Yeah.
And what perennials are you establishing? I know you just put a couple things in. What are you planting?
So in fall we did about 500 peonies, and my goal is to kind of just increase that probably by about 500 each fall until I get to where I want to be. Which I was regretting not putting in more, but then we had our winter last year, and then I was like, oh no, that was the right decision, because the field is in a spot that needs some drainage help. So if I had put in more, they would have sat in a puddle, and I probably would have lost them. So that was go me, I guess. But a lot of roses, rebuilding up all my perennial foliage, which is probably the thing that I missed most about my last property. Was we had a massive raspberry row that I had worked on for years. It supplied like 90% of the foliage for all my bouquets. And I miss that every day because it gave so much. So we just replanted that, putting in native shrubs like nine bark, which is a native in my state and also is a great foliage. And then just, all the fun things like delphinium and geum and veronica, which are all perennials where I live. And rudbeckia and sedum also act as perennials here.
Yeah, I have a couple rudbeckias that come back for me every year, but not all. Like Sahara might come back one season, but it won't come back two. But the Cherokee Sunset comes back for me really nice. But also Cherokee Sunset for me tends to be more of a fall addition to the bouquets because of that really dark center. So I like I like Irish Eyes. That comes back for me. That's really great in spring because the bright green eyeball it has. But yeah, I need more perennials all the time, I think. But I do have Veronica and Eryngium. Do you have Eryngium?
Oh, yep. I have that too. I planted that last year.
Mine's taking a little bit longer to get established than I'd like. I think it's just too weedy. I need to take some time and weed it out because it's just it's drowned out by all the grasses.
Does it smell bad to you?
To me it doesn't, but also I love
either, but a lot of people, it smells horrible.
Yeah, they smell like pee, and I don't think that. And a lot of people say that they can't stand feverfew, and I love feverfew. I don't think that smells bad either.
I don't either. So, but then it made me second guess putting it into anything because I'm like, maybe I'm giving somebody a bouquet.
I know, it's like that cilantro. Like some people love it, some people hate it. So you are kind of risking it, putting it in. But I just love feverfew. It just looks so good in all bouquets.
I love it too. That's a favorite filler of mine, which also does perennialize where I live as well. So
I have mine in the hoop house this year. I might try to keep it in there and see if it comes back year after year. I put about 140 in just in the back corner. So we'll see. It's doing beautifully right now. It's nice and lush and green. It's not throwing up any stems yet, but we had 8 degrees yesterday morning. So and we have 3 inches of snow. So
you
I do. I know. I know. I was looking through some of our images from our trip to Europe, and I'm getting a little depressed that my
Mhm.
climate is, we're still so muddy and brown, and things are just taking their time this spring to green up, and makes me
Mhm.
want to go back desperately.
You just need to get more hoop houses. I
Yes.
think that was my takeaway from the Netherlands, which was like, how many acres do they just have in greenhouses
Yes. It was
everywhere?
incredible just driving around. We were on a bus going from spot to spot, and there were just hundreds of these massive greenhouses everywhere. It was
Hmm.
incredible to see.
Hmm. And there's like no trees to fall on them, so it's like
No.
it's great.
So
Yeah.
you're adding something to the farm?
We're putting in a really big, well, standard size,
Yeah.
but a 30 by 96 heated greenhouse, high tunnel.
That is amazing. You are going to love
Yeah,
it so much.
I'm very excited for it. We're gonna have it lined up with our barn, so we can go like straight from our barn out into it.
Mhm.
It's the first heated greenhouse I've had, actually, because like most of our tunnels, well, all of our tunnels actually are not. They're just standard,
Mhm.
whatever. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a game changer for like plans we have for our farm.
Yeah, like I want to put a heated one at my house too, but that's for me. I've got the 5 here, so
Right.
I think about it. I definitely want more unheated high tunnels at the farm for more ranunculus,
Hmm.
because I don't have enough room for all the ranunculus that I want to grow. Because like you, I was so inspired when we were walking through these breeding tunnels of ranunculus and meeting the people who are creating these varieties. And while we were in Greenworks, I literally ordered
I
almost
know.
3,000 ranunculus. I got some for you. So I have some for you in that order, remember? Yes.
Because on that trip, I realized that I kind of missed the ball on wholesale ordering. So now I'm
Yes.
trying to scramble a little bit for fall. I'm like, oh no, I don't have anything coming.
It's so funny in our industry. We are ordering almost 8 months ahead of when we need it. So if you don't get in the first couple of weeks, the most popular varieties are gone, and it's a struggle.
Yeah, close to a year, honestly. It's like you're
Yeah,
ordering next year's before you even see this year's bloom. Like you're
which
ordering.
is tough. Yeah, so with the
Yeah,
tulips blooming, I'm like, I don't even know if I like this tulip, but I guess I'm going to order it again next year.
I know. I missed the tulip window too, which I'm okay with because if I don't really actually grow them for production anymore. I just
Yeah.
grow 1 or 2 thousand to use with custom bouquets. But
Hmm.
when I said that like all of ours are finishing up, that's abnormal. They shouldn't be finishing up. They should be like taking through the end of April. But we got a warm week, and then
Yeah,
they all opened.
it is so tough.
Although I did, because I have a cooler, we were having like a week of 70 to 75. And I'm like, I need tulips
Hmm.
through the end of April. But instead of pulling them, I just took the full crate and I just stuck them all in my cooler. So they're still in the dirt,
Oh,
everything.
yes.
And I'm like, why didn't I ever think of this before?
Yes.
Great. They're just in there. The stems are getting a little longer, which is awesome. They're very slowly coloring up. They're in the full dark. And I'm like, great.
I
And they're
wonder
not,
if that's helping their stem length too.
yeah, I bet it is. And they're
Hmm.
not, they're not losing vase life by already being pulled and dry stored.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
How many do you do in a crate? So you're growing your tulips in crate? Like how many in each crate are really close together like you would in the field?
Yeah, it's about 100.
Oh, wow.
No, yeah,
Huh.
you can really fit them in there.
Interesting.
It's very space efficient and they're so
Hmm.
easy to pull out. Like so easy. The only thing in your zone, because you're so cold, is you'd probably have to put them in a greenhouse
Yeah.
because it's open to all the elements. I think that it would the bulbs would freeze.
It would be mushy. Yeah, it would just turn to mush. Ooh, yeah. So, something that you have fallen in love with over the past couple of years, talk to us about dahlias and why you daydream of dahlias all day long.
Well, they're so amazing. I don't think that there is a flower. Yeah, I really don't think that there's another flower where you can get such a wide variance of form and color in something that you requires the same care and growth across the board. So you can get balls, you can get little pom-poms, you can get dahlias that look like a water lily, you can get them ones that look like a cactus, you can get ones that look like a daisy, you can get really, really big, fluffy ones. And you can pretty much get every color except blue. And they all, you're growing them all the same. Like one dahlia does not need a different level of care than a different dahlia. So I fell deep. So I started with 150, and the next year I went straight up to 800. And then the year after that, I think I was at like 3,000 because I'm a combination of a farmer, a collector, and a gardener. So I'm covering like 3 different ways of growing, which is also why the amount of varieties I grow keeps going up, because I don't have any chill. I'm like, ooh, like from a farming perspective, it's way more efficient if you're only growing like 100 or 200 varieties. But from a collector perspective, I'm like, I want them all. So I definitely have way more than that at this point. And then 5 years ago, I also got incredibly interested in dahlia breeding, which is different, completely different. You start with a seed and you eliminate down, and you grow them out for a lot of years before you're sure that they're stable. So I have a bunch of those that I'm working on that I'm hoping I can start releasing in spring. But we'll see if that happens.
Yeah. So talk to me about that whole process, because you have the tubers and you have the seeds. How does this work?
So a dahlia tuber is going to create the exact clone of the plant that you took it from. So if you have a Cornell bronze plant and you take that tuber is going to create a Cornell bronze plant. And that's how you propagate dahlias in a way of making sure that a variety continues on. It's like you're taking the tubers, you're growing out the tubers, that tuber will make a new tuber clump, and it kind of just multiplies by that. To get new dahlias, you would let the flowers go to seed, and not commonly known, but not all dahlias will make seed. Some do. Some. So some are better seed producers than others. Some just don't make any seed, period. And that's a long process. So just doing that. So you would want to stop cutting the flowers a minimum of 6 weeks before your last frost date in order to give the dahlia a full amount of time to die, get pollinated, and then create a seed head that will then mature enough so the seeds are mature.
Okay.
So a lot of people send me questions of, what do you do with all your flowers? I'm letting them go to seed. So you see a full blooming field. There are certain ones I just never cut because I want them to create seed pods, because I'm looking to capture that. So the seeds, dahlias are octoploids. So they have a huge amount of genetics that they can draw from, as opposed to other flowers. So the seed, any seed, will not be identical to the flower it came from. It's going to be a completely different cross from whatever that flower pollinated with another flower. Even if you hand pollinated the same variety together, you're still not going to get that variety, because just like in humans, there's a lot of DNA that it can draw from. That's why, your kids don't look exactly like you. They They will share similarities, but they're not going to be identical. So there's a couple ways of breeding that hybridizers do. One is hand pollination, which is extremely time intensive. Not a lot of people do it, actually. There's only a couple who do it pretty consistently. Christine Albrecht is one, and she typically spends 20 to 30 hours a week hand pollinating.
Wow.
It's very, very time intensive because it's not as simple as taking your paintbrush and doing a cross on one flower with another flower one time and then being like, we're good. You have to go back multiple times and spread the pollen for the maximum amount of seeds, because that's what bees do. Bees are going back to flowers over and over and over again. The more common way, which is generally the approach that I take because I don't have that much extra time, is isolation beds. So bees spread around, but they do tend to stick within a certain area. So a lot of hybridizers will take dahlias that they're trying to cross together, and they'll make a bed over here, and then 100 feet over in this direction, they'll make another bed with a different combo, and they'll just spread those out. And that, although not perfect, does narrow it down quite a bit. So you're probably getting those characteristics together and not bringing in a lot of other stuff. So once you do that and you have your seeds, you start them like any other seeds. You start them like zinnia seeds. They're frost sensitive, so 6 weeks before your last frost date, start them in trays. They grow pretty fast. You plant them out, 5 or 6 inches apart, typically. Every dahlia grown from seed will make a tuber clump, which is then how you would propagate that seedling if you wanted to continue to grow it on. The thing about seeds that makes some people uncomfortable with the process is if you're not just trying to grow a flower, but you're actually trying to narrow it down to something that is considered good in the dahlia world, I throw out 80% of them.
Yeah.
So I might plant 1,000 seedlings. 80% of those get composted during the summer. And then the second year, you take those tubers that those make, you grow them out. You're again throwing out about half of them. Yeah. And then the third year, it's actually probably the same, at least half of those ones that get thrown out. So from 1,000 seedlings, most hybridizers, once they release it, narrow that down to 10 or so. And that's just like the way that you find the best. And some people are like, well, why don't you give those away? All of that. For me, anything that I want my name attached to, I want it to be something that I consider to be truly excellent. I encourage other people to grow seeds if they want to do it just for the fun of it, because growing from seed is not that hard. The hybridizing process is just extremely
time consuming. Yes. Now you're planting them so 4 or 5 inches apart is not the typical dahlia spacing, but this is because as soon as you see who it's going to be, you're going to be pulling as they're opening. You're pulling, so it's really they don't need that much space.
Right. And if you wanted to just keep them and you're just trying to grow flowers, do your normal dahlia spacing, which is 12 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty aggressive with pulling. Things get thrown out as soon as they bloom. If I'm in doubt, I'll give it like 2 or 3 blooms, but usually I know right away and it gets tossed.
Yes, you throw out so many, but Galena, tell us how many you've kept.
I don't want to tell you that, Nicole.
I know. You don't have to say it, but it's...
Ask me next year.
Okay. So in this process, what are you looking for?
I I'm looking for dahlias that have a very sturdy stem attachment. I'm looking for dahlias that have a naturally long stem because I'm interested in cut flowers from that perspective. I'm looking at vase life. I'm looking at the petal count. So I want fully double dahlias, which means that I don't want to see an open center at all. I don't want that center to blow quickly. I don't want it to be green. That's just a personal preference. I'm looking for good tuber production and good tuber storage because not all dahlias meet those requirements, even though they're really beautiful flowers. And then I'm looking for something that is unique and not already out there in terms of color specifically. So one of the things that I'm working on is dahlias that move towards brownish hues. I have quite a lot of seedlings that move in that direction, and I'm working on crossing ones that I have to see if I can get more and more brown.
Okay.
Some people would be like, and that actually doesn't fit in with the American Dahlia Society. They would say that's too muddy and that's not good color purity. But I think in the cut flower world, that would be very interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, considering Roseanne Brown Lisianthus is one of my top 5 flowers, I mean, I would welcome a dahlia that's that color.
Yeah.
If you guys want to see, you share a lot of your seedlings on Instagram and Facebook and stuff too. So if the listeners are interested in seeing some of them, go ahead and find your account. And I've fallen in love with quite a few of yours. Most specifically, that one, you know what one?
Yeah, the water lily.
That water lily is so dreamy, and it's like almost like fruit punch colored. I don't even know how to describe it.
It has
it's beautiful.
Picote edge, which picote edge and like gold tips on the ends of dahlias are definitely two traits that I gravitate towards.
What trends are you seeing in dahlia breeding right now, though? From, not just on your farm, but overall, what are the trends?
I would say a push towards more unique colors for sure. Then the Dutch really impressed me with their emphasis on vase life. That is definitely not something that a lot of American hybridizers focus on as of now, or at least it's not. It might be a focus, but it's definitely not like a major focus.
Yeah.
That really intrigued me on how many varieties that they've developed in just the last couple years that have a 2-week vase life. Like that is incredible for a dahlia, and I think that would be hugely significant in the cut flower world going forward. And then I think color uniqueness is probably the main one. And I see a lot of really, really interesting stuff by certain people in that regard.
I'm reading through all the questions that I wrote down to ask you, and you've literally answered like so many of them about dahlia breeding. Oh, here's one. How do you keep everything organized? Because obviously when you're growing this many dahlias, I mean, you're growing, I don't even want to say how many varieties you're growing, but let's just say it's a lot. How do you keep everything organized? And then we'll talk about dahlia storage too.
A lot of spreadsheets. Everything gets labeled about 3 times at every step of the process. It's a lot of work, honestly. That is the part about when you expand your varieties. It adds exponential amount of work in terms of how many dahlias you have to label, how many dahlias you have to photograph, how many dahlias you're putting in separate containers in storage, which is definitely less space efficient than if you say you had 100. So, yeah, I would say it's a lot of spreadsheets. It's a lot of labeling. It's a lot of photography. I have about 1 billion albums on
Yeah.
in my computer with different sets of photos. People ask me, how do you keep track of, like, how do you just know what varieties are? Because I'm staring at them like
Yeah.
30. Like, I have looked at that dahlia in the field 100 times. I have photographed it probably 50 times. I have labeled it. I've then looked at it again while I'm dividing it. I've looked at it again when I'm putting it on my website. Like, it's about, it's like,
Yes. It
yeah.
is. I watched one of your videos on YouTube when you were going and making your planting spreadsheet about where everything was going to be planted. I think it was last year. Oh my gosh. It actually inspired me though, because I created a spreadsheet for myself, not necessarily about planting, but at least to know who I have and what varieties I had. And I actually put like a list of where I bought them from, just so I can keep track in my head. Okay, those performed really well, or those didn't perform really well, because it's like Dahlia Wars is pretty insane, and it
Well,
starts in the fall, and it's still going on.
it starts so early, like
Yes.
earlier. On Honestly, I saw some people doing sales in September, and I'm like, I don't even have the headspace. My field's still blooming.
Hmm.
I don't have the headspace to buy any dahlias before December at the earliest.
Yeah.
Certainly not when I still have a field in full bloom,
Hmm.
which is also what those sellers have. They haven't actually dug anything up.
Right.
They might be using a lot of spreadsheets to figure out like what their normal production is, and then giving a big generous leeway to that. But they haven't actually dug their tubers up and seen
Right.
when they're selling those. So yeah, there's different ways to do it, but they really are starting early.
Early. So
Yeah.
you're a large part of your business is selling dahlia tubers. And talk about, you don't have a tractor,
Not yet.
and you use a lot of strength to do all your lifting. Talk about your process and how long that actually takes you.
So digging and dividing, we have a 3/4 acre field of dahlias. We had 3 people working on it, and it took us 6 weeks this past fall. Which was, we divided it up. So we dug, I forget how many rows it was. I think it was 9 rows every week.
And how
Yeah.
long are your rows?
100 foot.
Okay.
So we used 3 people to dig and wash 9 rows. We did that on Monday, and that would take us about 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday through Saturday, I and Abigail, who works part-time for me, divided and stored everything.
So you divide
And-
right away.
Not all the time, but last year we did.
Okay.
And it was a very intense 6 weeks, but I really preferred those intense 6 weeks to what I've done in the past, which was divide in the evening after like the kids were done for the day.
Yeah.
And and in the past it would drag out until February usually. So that, yeah. And even if we had a tractor, the only part that would really speed up a little bit would be the digging part, because you could use an undercutter and go through and like undercut a row, and then they're easier to pull out.
Yeah.
But dividing is just very manual. Like
Yeah.
there's no way to be faster at it apart from just being faster, and I am pretty fast at it, and it's still a lot. So.
Yeah, people don't understand the amount of work that it goes into really just selling tubers and dividing them and making sure they have all the parts that they need to grow a flower. What is your preferred method of storage? Do you use vermiculite, sawdust, a little bit of both?
I hate vermiculite,
Yeah.
but not because it doesn't work. It works great. I just it's so dusty that I really working with it. I have to wear a mask, which when you're doing that for 8 hours, stuff, it's, not super fun. So I switched to cedar shavings, and that works great for me in my climate. It will not work in several climates, but we have a very, very humid winter. I store them in a climate controlled cooler, which stays at 40 degrees, 90% humidity all winter long. They do perfect in that. I know people, though, who live in very dry climates, and it will just completely dry out your tubers. So cedar shavings, peat moss, vermiculite. If you do vermiculite, do not do the fine vermiculite because it will not have enough air for your tubers. You want the coarse vermiculite. So people who've used the fine vermiculite end up usually with a lot of rot because there's no loose
breathing.
There's no breathing. Vermiculite, I would say across the board of climates is probably the most dependable. Peat moss, it can trap in too much moisture if you live in a really, really wet climate. It's a really good option for people in a dry climate. But there's also environmental concerns around it. So some people really don't want to use it at all.
Yeah.
But for some people, I know it is the only solution that they found that works. So there's always just going to be a balance of pros and cons on, and like that's true in farming too, on like what choices you end up doing, like what choices are available to you in terms of how you process any part.
Yeah. I'm regretting. So I have some fine vermiculite here at the garden center, and I brought some home to start some cuttings to wake up some tubers. And the fine vermiculite on top of the crown looks like little eyes everywhere. So I can't see where the eyes are actually coming because there are little dots of vermiculite all over the crown. So I keep blowing it off and looking, but it's very deceptive.
Yeah.
So cuttings, that's something that you are doing as well. What is the purpose of taking a cutting from a dahlia tuber for the home gardener?
The purpose mostly is to propagate that plant out more without spending more money. Like you're spending your time, obviously, but you're not spending more money. So if you bought a variety that's really special to you, or maybe costs a lot because some are way more rare, you could get 5 to 10 more of the same plant by taking cuttings, and you're not spending any more money on it.
And that cutting will develop tubers?
Typically, yes. Not as dependably as a tuber grown plant, but I would say enough to be like, consistently enough to be like, yes, cuttings make tuber clumps. I will always get the occasional like 0.5% just randomly that just don't.
But they bloom just fine.
They bloom just fine and everything. And sometimes it's literally, I have 100 cuttings of this one variety and there's like 3 in there that didn't do anything. And who knows why? But you also occasionally, will plant a tuber and grows a plant, does all the things, you dig it up, and there's still only one tuber there.
Yeah.
I do feel like there's a little bit about plants and how they work that we don't quite understand.
Yeah.
It didn't want to, I guess.
Yeah, we're always learning.
Yeah. But that's why I do cuttings is to help propagate new varieties that I get specifically.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would like to know what your favorite dahlia is. I've asked you this before, and I don't think you could answer me then, but I'm going to ask you again. Do you have a current favorite dahlia?
No, I have too many favorites.
I know. Give me a couple of them.
All right. I mean, I would say I do have, let's say, like one that I always come back to specifically for the color is KA's Rosy Joe. Like that.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
It's really hard to beat. Um, I also fell in love with Glenmark Connie, which is
Mm,
it's not pink and it's not purple. It's kind of a combo, and depending upon the light that you're photographing in, it can give both shades.
okay.
Um, and so that one I really love. Ka Cinder Rose is a very unique color that is also very hard to find elsewhere.
Hmm.
And just from a cut flower perspective, that one is very, very, very productive. Um, but other than that, my list of favorites is grows each year, which is why I have close to 700 varieties now.
Yeah,
I don't keep the ones I don't like. So,
that's accurate. That's accurate.
yeah, my favorites are my field.
That's exactly right. You can't go wrong. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
full of gorgeousness. Is there a favorite style that you like a cactus or a
No,
water lily?
not cactus.
No.
Sorry to the cactus. I really love. So there's a form called formal decorative, which means that it will look like a ball, but the petals will go all the way back to the stem, and there's a very specific definition for it. So you can have that. There's like the American formal deck where it will have that shape, but then the Australians have a version of the formal decorative where it looks like a very poofy, round marshmallow ball. Glenmark Connie, if anyone wants to look that up, is an
Okay.
example of that. And that is my favorite form. And that is a form that I'm definitely trying to hybridize for.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
and there's a limit on all the websites
Yeah.
of how many you can buy.
Yep.
Okay, that's gorgeous. I think ball is my favorite. I do love cactus though, but I love water lily. I think I like them all.
I like almost all of them. I am like the least fan of the collarettes or like the daisy, the open centered
I
ones.
agree. There are a couple that I like obviously the rhubarb one and like that. But was it rhubarb and custard? Yes,
Rhubarb and custard.
that's gorgeous. Just that color combination, you can't go wrong with that. But I've seen some that I don't know. When I've grown them from seed before, the majority of them were the collarettes and they were single color and they just weren't very interesting. So I've only
Yeah.
had one double one time from seedlings. I do have some started in my basement right now, so I'm crossing my fingers for a couple more,
Mhm.
but you never know.
Right. No, and a dominant trait is an open center
Yeah.
because that's the easiest to pollinate. So the
Hmm.
dahlia is like, hey, this is easier to survive if we have an open center because then we'll make seeds and we'll all be good. But yeah, so I, in my entire field, I would say probably at least 60% of it is formal decoratives.
Hmm.
And I have maybe 5 collarettes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
yeah.
I'm sure more will sneak in there over some time. So I wanted to talk briefly because we just shared a European flower adventure. We went for the listeners. We spent 2 days in France, and then we spent 5 days in Holland and Amsterdam. We went to the flower auction. We went to several breeders, and we just had such a good time. And we were roomies. We were roomies, so we spent a lot of time together. Talk about what your favorite parts of the trips were. The trip.
Well, in France, it was definitely seeing the process of breeding ranunculus.
Yes.
And that was just incredible, especially for someone who, like, I've loved ranunculus for so long. So that was just really inspiring um, on a lot of levels and a lot of respect for how much work goes
Hmm.
into that process. And, it's a lot like dahlia hybridizing too. Is like they start out with a huge amount of seeds and they narrow it down to less than a dozen. And yeah, like I think I've definitely seen people in the social sphere of
Mm-hmm.
gardening Instagram, just kind of be like, how hard can hybridizing be?
Mm-hmm.
Like all these people, like, how hard is it really? And like, if you're doing it correctly, is it hard? Well, not in terms of like physically demanding per
Mm-hmm.
se, but it takes so much time,
Yeah.
which, and people do not, I think, fully appreciate that what goes into something really good that is released
Mm-hmm.
is hours and hours and hours of labor that is
Mm-hmm.
not, you're not getting any payment for it.
Right.
Like half of my field is dedicated to growing out seedlings that I will not see any return on for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, honestly, this is a little rabbit hole, but I think that there's a lot of room for the conversation on the reason why varieties, and this is true with ranunculus too, this is why you have royalties attached to every
Mm-hmm.
new ranunculus corm that people might not realize are there, but are part of the purchase price.
Mm-hmm.
And not that you need to have royalties on dahlias, but this is why new intros are priced so high,
Yeah.
because the hybridizer is basically saying, hey, I spent 4 years of work, labor, field space on this. And if you think about that, the price honestly is probably not high enough.
I actually agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. And after talking to the daffodil farm, they
Yeah,
said that it takes up to 40 years to release
right,
a new daffodil
right.
because daffodils are different. They are not like a dahlia where you can take cuttings from it. You can't like multiply your daffodils as quickly as you can a dahlia. So 40
No,
years for a new daffodil. Respect to the new daffodils that are coming out because they have spent decades getting there.
right. Yeah. And so if anything, I think I'm more committed to showing more of the process of how much time goes
Yeah.
into at least dahlia hybridizing.
Hmm.
And being a lot more open about that so people realize that it's not as simple as just, hey, we planted a seed.
Yeah.
Now we're going to charge $60. Nope.
Yes. I think you and I have done a pretty good job over the years of showing the hard work that is behind beautiful bouquets. We're not just wearing dresses and
I
and
know.
walking through the field. I did for a photo shoot one time.
I mean,
One
yeah,
time with it.
no, I have done, that is literally the only time I will wear a dress on the farm is we do like a family photo shoot. And
Yes.
I seriously second guessed it. I'm like, this is not, I'm in leggings, I'm in jeans, I'm in tank tops, I'm
Yep.
covered in dirt 90% of the time. I never get the dirt out completely from under my nails. Ever.
Same.
My brother got married and I spent like, I was trying. I was like scrubbing him, like, whatever.
No, and I agree. I always look back on those pictures and I'm like, I should have just worn my, my belt that I keep my tools in and the t-shirt that I wear every day covered in dirt. So yeah, more
Right.
authentic. I think that's
Very,
important to show. Yeah.
yeah. Maybe this year when we do our photo shoot, I'll be like, okay, switcheroo, let's put all our farm clothes on.
Yes. Let's get dirty. Put on the
Um,
boots.
yeah. And then, but then my favorite part of the Netherlands
Yes.
was absolutely just honestly all of it. Like I definitely was like, I could move to this country. I had a lot
Yeah.
of affinity for the people there. Probably because, both Daniel and I came from Dutch people.
Yep.
But they are so hardworking.
Hmm.
The true like love of the land that country just has. Like there is such a focus on farming, and then they're just so efficient, which I personally just love.
Yes.
Efficiency is something that I'm always trying to strive for on a lot of levels. Um, so I
But
have
But could you get used to the 2-hour lunches?
Well, that wasn't in the Netherlands, that was in Victoria.
Yes, it was.
No, I don't think that I would be there because
No.
that's not just a 2-hour lunch. That's also a 2-hour dinner.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
But
yeah. It was so much time eating.
Machines.
Oh, yes.
I want a coffee machine.
Mm-hmm. I've looked up a few brands. I'll text you which ones I'm thinking about.
Coffee machine, everyone. And you could pick espresso, you could pick a latte, you could pick a cappuccino, and you just press a button, and it's fresh beans ground, and it's 60 seconds, and you have it.
Oh, it was so nice. It was so delicious. I miss our hotel. I really do. I do.
The only thing about that coffee machine is I'm like, well, if I have one, I'm going to be drinking a lot more coffee, and that might not be the most healthy choice.
No, I found I was drinking a lot less water.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
No, the Netherlands, seeing how they do dahlias, completely different than Americans on every level. I would say the biggest difference for how the Dutch grow really is that I would say that their primary focus is actually the cut flowers, not necessarily the tubers.
Yeah.
Because they have that massive flower auction, and which sends out cut flowers to like 80% of them go to Germany and France. And my theory on that one actually is the reason why the industry is so large there is because most people actually don't have enough land to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to the market and you buy your flowers for the week. While in America, although a lot of people don't have a lot of land, we are such a massive land-wise country that you do see that more common. It's like people have half an acre or a quarter acre, or, it's spread.
Oh, yeah. You can grow a lot in a quarter acre. People don't realize how much you can grow.
No, that was like my last farm was basically a lot of stuff crammed into a quarter acre. And that's kind of like the whole message that one of the messages that I'm trying to teach and show people, which is, embodies my name, is that you genuinely do not have to have a lot of land to grow a massive amount of flowers. I grow on less than an acre. Even less if you take out the pathways. It's really half an acre of flowers.
And there was a push. I wouldn't say it was a big push, but when you moved from your smaller lot to the bigger lot, people are like, are you going to change your name? Well, if you Google the definition of micro flower farm, it is 5 acres or less. And you're growing on 1.
I know. Yeah.
You still fit.
I'm not changing my name. Also, but there's always going to be, and I get it, and I try and, but there's a disconnect because people, and I even hate to bring this up, but people look at my follower account and they assume something.
Yeah.
Based off of that versus the amount of land that I grow on.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I admit, like, the struggle of reconciling those because first and foremost, I always consider myself a farmer, but I also have a platform that I use for gardening education. So, but that's what it is. But the fact is that it's a micro farm. It is.
Yep.
I have literally had a sweet man tell me in a Facebook comment that I can't even call myself a farm because I'm not farming 10 acres. And I'm like, well.
Oh, wow.
Bless.
Bless. Yes, exactly. Oh, my gosh.
Thank you for that information.
The internet is a fun place to live, isn't it?
Fun.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we have already chatted away for over an hour here. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and we're going to come back with one final question for Galena. Stay with us. Welcome back to In the Garden with Flower Hill Farm. And I have one final question for Galena. Galena, what is inspiring you right now on your farm?
That is a great question. And I think my answer will be a little different than picking a plant. I am inspired by the possibility of innovation. So doing things that are not necessarily done, or really going in and analyzing, why is this done this way? And if I don't think there's a good reason for why it's done this way, figuring out a different way to do it. So I find, I guess I would just say, the challenge of farming and trying to make it better to fit within the life that I want. So that's what excites me, is that farming is never boring.
Ugh, and it's so exciting. Like every year, even the seedlings.
Even if you wake up and found out that you got 5 feet of snow that you weren't expecting, it's never boring.
That's true. Well, you're not going to get 5 feet of snow because you got that new greenhouse. Can't handle that.
No, but there was one year, and you'll laugh because you'll be like, that's not that much snow. But we didn't have snow on the forecast at all, and it was late April. And I just had this feeling, but I left everything uncovered. And I woke up at 4 a.m. and there was 8 inches of heavy, wet snow. And I was like, crap.
Oh, yeah. That could take down a high tunnel real quick, especially the heavy stuff.
Yes. And my high tunnel was not built for snow.
No.
So,
mine is.
And it was heavy. And because it was late April, all of our trees were budded. Like, they had leaves. So everything, I had to go around our whole property and shake everything off. So branches.
Wow.
But thankfully, like, the tulips and everything were fine. You know, that was like a lesson on how, that was earlier on in farming. So that was like a good lesson on like, oh, you know what? Most plants are actually pretty resilient.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, they are.
But it was a moment because we're not used to snow. And I was like, oh, no.
Well, I thought you were going to say like 2 or 3 inches and I would have laughed at you. But 8 inches? No, unexpected. That's a lot. That's a lot. So I'm not laughing. I am commiserating with you. Oh, well, this was so much fun. I don't want to let you go because we have so much more to talk about, but we'll have to connect again and do that. And I will be messaging you nonstop about my dahlias and all that stuff. But thank you so much for joining us. And all of your information we'll put in the show notes so that people can find you on the interwebs where we live.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you later. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm your host, Nicole Pitt, and you can find more of my garden adventures over on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Flower Hill Farm. And of course, all of the seeds and garden goodies we talked about are waiting for you at botanicalinterests.com. Or check your favorite local garden center to see if they carry botanical interests, like we do at the Boone Street Nursery. Save 5% by using the code INTHEGARDEN. Want to see what we're talking about? Subscribe to the Botanical Interests YouTube channel for the video version. We'll see you next time in the garden. I'll meet you there.